everyone, hello. And already here in Danu's Irish Herb Garden we've seen signs of spring. There's some daffodils have come up, there's a primrose, and there are lots of little buds on the trees. So, and catkins here on the hazel. And thinking about the trees, I'm just thinking about all the medicine we can also obtain from trees. So I mean the pine there, for example, we can use the pine needles, but we can also use the bark, and there's a lot of medicine to be had in bark. But so many trees offer medicine that today I'm just going to talk about the elder, because elder, this little tree here, is known as nature's apothecary or nature's medicine chest. There's all kinds of local, rural names up and down Europe, I expect, because it is such a potently medicinal tree. And apart from that, it makes a fantastic hedgerow tree, because when you cut it back, it all knits together and creates a fantastic boundary for wind, for animals. And as I say, every part of it is medicinal. It's a fascinating little tree because apart from all the medicinal content in the roots, in the bark, in the flowers, in the berries, it also has a very interesting history and lots of superstitions associated with the elder. And it's known as the tree of Calvary because some people think Christ was hung on an elder tree. It's also known as a Judas tree because other people think Judas hung himself after he betrayed Jesus. It's known as a witch's tree. So a lot of danger associated with it. So for example, in Ireland you wouldn't make a cradle from elderwood because the mischievous spirits or the fairies might take the child and replace it with a changeling. But that was the same view across Europe as well, that the child would be pinched and tormented, and so you don't want to put your baby into an elderwood cradle. And you would never burn elderwood because that would really invoke the fury of the mother elder who dwells in the tree. But at the same time, if you plant elder around your house, it protects you from evil witches, from robbers, from snakes, from lightning. So it's a really interesting tree that it's got these dual natures of goodness and badness, and positive association and negative association. But despite all that, medicinally, it's one of the best trees to have. And it's so easy to propagate. I'm going to do that now, actually. We've got some, I was over here, this last week I came to take some cuttings, but we had severe frost. It was really cold and icy. Everywhere was white, it was beautiful. And I did notice there were little buds on some of these branches. Tiny little leaf buds coming. But it was just too cold, so I'm glad today that the weather has changed. It's back to the normal windy, damp weather. So this would be the time of year to take the bark from the tree, and it's not the outside bark you take from the elder, it's the internal bark. The bark isn't really used very much these days. In the past, when people tended to use a lot of purgatives and emetics to recover from illness, it would have been used then. But it's very potent in that regard, and it's not really possibly the best thing. So these days it's the berries, the leaves and the flowers. So the leaves have multiple purposes. You can dry them. Because they repel insects, you could dry them and sprinkle them, or sprinkle the powder over your favorite, most delicate plants to stop insect attack. You can also use the leaves to make a balm that you can put on, or a spray to protect yourself from insects, midges and mosquitoes and things when you're working outside. But it's the leaves are also very good for wounds. So a salve made from the leaves can help with injuries and cuts and things like that. But most people think of the elder today in terms of the berries and the flowers. So the flowers are very potent, very beneficial for upper respiratory issues. So the first sign of a sore throat, for example, tonsillitis, laryngitis, when the throat infects the ears, when you get a head cold or even the flu, because it's a diaphoretic, it's going to help you sweat out all the toxins. So if you take a hot, strong infusion of elder flowers, you will recover pretty much overnight, because you'll just sweat everything out and be restored back to health. Because it's such a valuable medicinal tree, I'm going to take some cuttings. Because it's so easy to propagate, you can basically just stick it into the ground and it will grow. But I'm going to take this one here. And then what I do when I'm taking a hardwood cutting is just injure the bottom of the cutting. And we pop that straight into the pot. So here I have already mixed up compost and sand, so it's a gritty, growing. I'll just pop that in there. I might just shorten that a wee bit. So when we're taking a cutting, we're just going to take off to a nodule, injure that end, because that stimulates enzymes, growth hormones and things. And really you don't even need to do that. You can just stick it straight in the ground. If you're taking the bark, you would take off the bark. See, I've taken off the external bark there, and here we have the interior green bark. And that's what you would use. This is the tree that pop guns were originally made from, because you can hollow out the inside of the little branch and you can make a pipe and play music. It's possible that the very first panpipes were made from elder. You can also make a pop gun, as I say, which, you know, you blow your little pea through it. Another benefit of the elder flowers is that in the past they've been used for eruptive disease, such as measles and scarlet fever and anything that is a kind of viral attack with an eruption of spots, such as measles. So I have 3 little pots of cuttings, and one of the things you do, because this tree is so potent, you have to ask for permission for some of the wood and say that you will. The traditional thing to do is to say, if you give me some of your wood, I will give you some of mine. Meaning, when you return to the earth, you will give something back to the elder. So another thing to mention about the elder flowers is that you can make a strong tea and use the tea on the skin. You can put them in the bath. It's also, the flowers are also very beneficial to the nervous system because they're a relaxant. So if you had some kind of skin eruption that was worsened with nerves or, you know, anxiety, elderflower water could be very beneficial to the skin, and also in the bath to help you relax. And of course there's the berries, which I'm going to talk about another time. So apart from the elder, you can use so many other trees as well. The birch can be tapped for sap. That's great for cleaning the skin as well at this time of year. It's one of the first trees. It's the beginning of the tree year, is the birch. We've got the pine there that I mentioned, cramp bark, ash. Ash is also medicinal. In fact, the more you look around at the trees, the more you realise just how much more medicine there is in your garden. It's just wonderful, isn't it? Apart from planting literal herbs such as your sage and your rosemary and your coriander, there are also trees to be included in your apothecary and in your healing repertoire. And we'll be doing more about trees during the year. So I'm looking forward to these putting down roots, and it won't be long before we've got the flowers coming on the elder and we can start making medicine in the later springtime. So thanks for all the tips and suggestions for forthcoming films. We'll be working on those, and for now we're going to be probably expecting some wind. So I'm going to go back in the house and get on with the herbal course that I'm writing now, which was, as I said last week, to be released at the beginning of February, but it's going to be probably the end of February now, and that's Herbs for Women. So I'll keep you informed of that. Have a great week, and I'll see you next Sunday. I hope you enjoyed today's film. If you did, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And have a look at the website danusirishherbgarden.com for more information about us and about the herbal medicine courses I offer and the Wise Woman Way training. And if you go to the shop, you can find the books, the weed handbooks and other herbal goodies. And remember, we put a new film out every Sunday. So looking forward to seeing you next week.